This is Trish Bell from the Weed and Seed community. It's not too strong for me. I am here today to introduce the Blade Video Podcast, and I'll tell you what, Blade, I'll have the guys whip up a not too strong strain for you. Now tell us all about those 70s we hear so much about.
It's a special one. And as Trish was saying, the intro girl was saying, we'll make a special strain for you, Blade. And I'm talking about the strength of pot these days. I can't smoke it anymore because it's too strong. You know, you take a couple of little hits out of it and you're like, so messed up because it's so synthetic now. It's not even really pot anymore, and it's getting to the point where it's not even going to be pot. And that's when it's going to get dangerous, in my opinion. You know, I went out and bought some last year, I think. You know, it comes in a beautiful little container. You know, I don't know what it was called. I think it was like the same price that it was back in the 70s, like $35 for a bunch. You know, and you just take 2 or 3 hits. I always like to roll them up at perfect joints, you know, and you take like a couple of hits and you go off in this whooping coughing attack. I would anyway. You know, and then you get a buzz and you'd sit there and I'd be so confused and paranoid. And I never got paranoid when I smoked it in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. But I did then. It's like there's a billion things I have to do that I'm not doing, so I got all paranoid. I didn't enjoy it anymore. Fuck. And people would say to me, what, you can't go to a concert without pot and enjoy it? And I'm like, no, I can't. You know, you want a beer? You want then $12, which was cheap beer. Now they're $25 or $30. $25 beer in a cup, cold cup, and you want to have a nice pot, buzz with one hitter in your pocket. You know, and that's how you enjoy a damn concert. You know, but the strains are so strong now. And that's what the girl's talking about. Makeup. She's a weed and seed community. And if I'm a rock guy, I guess I'm automatically inducted into the weed and seed community. But I can't smoke the pot that everyone else smokes these days. How do you smoke that every day? You know, that's why I couldn't smoke it every day, because it confused me too much. You know, I'd forget what I was saying, forget what I was thinking, and I'd be worthless. So I saved it for special events. Every night when I got off work was a special event. I go out to the bars, have a couple of shots, a couple of beers, go home, put on a set of headphones, listen to some tunes, and it was magnificent. Go to bed 4 o'clock, you know, wake up at 10, whatever. Shutter Day sponsored by Judd's Designs. And he is an artist. He's one of those creators who creates beautiful things. He knows how to do anything, create anything for a bunch of people. Father's Day coming up, Mother's Day coming up, that kind of thing. And a bunch of cool soaps he gave me. Blade, monogrammed, got me lately. Really good at what he does in that little shack behind his house. I'm not sure what else he does. About the 70s, you know, you look back and it was like the most unique decade, no question about it. Starting with the dressing and the way people clothed themselves. Make love, not war, right? And those hip hugger jeans the girls wore, wow. They don't do that anymore. Now they wear these, look, ladies, I'm sorry, you young and girls. Now they wear these big, baggy ass, loose jeans. You know, even if you're overweight as a girl, tight Levi's jeans still look good on you. Baggy jeans up here. No, hip huggers down to here is where it's at. But anyway, look at some of these things from a J.C. Penney's catalog that somebody sent me from the 70s. I think it was like 1972, kind of a leisure suit there. We always made fun of leisure suits. I never wore one, but what made it a leisure suit was not the material you made it out of, but how far out the collars extended. All-purpose jumpsuit. Orange. Lime green suits, which I really kind of like pretty much. You know, if it weren't for the big-ass collars on them, I kind of like those things. You know, they look okay. But I would never wear one. I don't really like or know what this is. Half a tie that's kind of sewn onto your shirt. Did they do line dancing in the 70s? Not that I remember, because that's what that seems like it would fit into. Terry cloth jumpsuits for when you get out of the sauna. And the double mint twins. Now that is some sexy stuff, I'm here to say. The hippie girls, man, in the 70s. I think back, when I was in 7th and 8th grade and I'm looking at the hippie girls, Giselle and Joanne and just these Anna Maria, these girls that I just remember their names, and they come into school with these shirts to here and these hip hugger jeans, and you think back on them and you go, damn. And they all had their hair down, and it was all long and thin and hitchhiking barefooted. Sure, of course. Who didn't do that in the 70s? Everybody hitchhiked in the 70s, girls alike. It was okay to do that then. Smoking with a headband. All right, she's topless there, I think. Look, yeah, she's topless. Okay. Sure. The headbands just work, don't they? If you do them right, don't overdo it. And there's my girl, Grace Slick. Woodstock. Look at her. She's just beautiful. The hippie girl. I don't know what that is, but I guess anything works. Whew. And of course, this is an AI hippie. And look at it. This is made up by AI, and it doesn't even compare to a real hippie girl. The music of the 70s. I include 1969 with the 70s, not 1980, but 69 I do include, not 1968, because Woodstock, was all part of the 70s to me, even though that was 1969. And I was in Central America and all overseas and all these weird places. I wasn't even in the United States in its heyday, this hippie heyday, the 70s heyday. I got back into the United States in 1974, right? And I'll never forget going to a KOA campground. I was camping with my dad. We were in Laredo, Texas. Me and my brother, Brandy. And I remember seeing, people camping all around me. And these people camping beside me had their radio on. And it was FM radio, which was cool then, instead of shortwave radio, which is what I had to listen to in Central America to get games on. The Armed Forces radio, but and it was a song from Steely Dan, Ricky Don't Lose That Number. And it was like the first rock song I'd heard in the United States since I got back. I hadn't been back in years. It's like, wow, I'll never forget that moment. And from then on, I remember, Wet Willie and all these bands that came out in 1974 and the Rolling Stones things, and listening to the radio in the car with my dad all the way back, to Fayetteville, North Carolina. So it was, the hippies and the make love, not war and all that kind of thing. And my favorite saying was out of sight. It was out of sight. The hotel detectives, they were out of sight. Grand Funk Railroad once sang, and I just love that saying, out of sight. But the 70s were so fun, and it was all about peace and love, supposedly. But there was one thing that was really, really divisory and ruined everything. Ruined peace and love, and that was the attitude of everybody about the Vietnam War. Vietnam War ruined everything, man. It did. And my dad served for 22 years, I think. 22, 23. Had an early death. Don't know what happened there, but that was bad news. That's another story, but not at the war. It was question mark on his death certificate for cause of death. Nobody knew how or why he died, but it was in a hospital, Army hospital. Yeah, at any rate, he flew these F-4 Phantom IIs, right? And they were fighter jets, and they set altitude records. They were interceptors, and they were way the hell up there, but they'd sloop down to attack, what is it, 5 to 10,000 feet or something like that, something really low. I don't know that during the, Vietnam War, and they were the big guns, but he had a panic attack early on in his Air Force career, and he was lucky, they say, to get that F-4 down on the ground, and he landed it safely, and he never got into an airplane again to fly it. And from then on, he just worked maintenance on those things. I know what a panic attack is. I had one last year. Now I know what they're like. You know, I believe everyone when they say, look, those panic attacks are bad. I believed everyone. I did. And when I had one, finally for the first time, oof. And I can see why the man got one flying, 20,000 feet up in the air. And my feet were from squarely on the ground. But if you think about it, when you have a panic attack, what do you think is more likely to give you a panic attack? Being 25,000 feet up in the air when you're getting ready to attack Hanoi, or 3 kids that are under the age of 10? I take pills because of it. And I wonder if my dad took pills. I wonder. He never told me any stories. I wanted to know about those jets. I wanted to know about Vietnam. He never told me one thing about it. How was his day at work? I would listen in, when he came home. He wouldn't tell my mom anything, I didn't know one single thing about what he did. And that is just not, I wouldn't be like that. Maybe he was bored with it. I don't know. I would like to have known more. But who told me and encapsulated? Let me tell you a story about a guy that encapsulated the whole Vietnam War thing in probably 3 minutes, less than that. And his name was Geoff Tate. And anyone that's named Jeff, I call him Geoff. Because Geoff Tate of Queensryche, Geoff, Geoffrey, like Geoffrey Chaucer. Was he British or something? Just funny. Geoff Tate of Queensryche, who's one of the 5 bands that all women hate. I've had that bit before on the show. The bands women just don't like or get or don't want to or just don't care about at all. Yes, Jethro Tull, Rush, Queensryche.
Okay, yeah, I heard. Guys, go ahead and give me the guitars again.
Anyway, his dad was a service guy, and he came in to the station one day with his band, and they played this song called Sliver. And I said, what's the song about? And he said, it's about what happens to you when you join the service. You go in as an individual, and they strip you down to almost nothing, build you back up to what they want you to be until there's only a sliver of yourself left.
You got the drill sergeant, and they basically tear you down and build you up into what they need, And at the end of the day, there might be something still left of the original you, but pretty much you've been a remade man,
I'm gonna tell you what's up now. Oh, yeah. Now listen up. It's time to sack up and let go of your mother. Take your gun, it's the cross carried by your brother. A sliver is all there is. A sliver of the old you. Underneath the skin, buried deep, there's a man. There's a soldier in you. Yeah. Oh yeah. What you doing here? Welcome to the show. What you doing here? Welcome to the show. What you doing?
I didn't know what to say about it.
Welcome to the show.
You can't cheer and clap. I think there was silence when that song was over. I think there was, But that encapsulates the whole thing. It's like he told me a story once about how his dad came home with his buddies because his father fought in the Vietnamese War. And the Make Love Not War kids were all there at the airport, running out in the airport, spitting on him. So that, you see these beautiful sunsets out here every night. You take a look at them, and for a moment, it just gives you peace and relaxation. For a moment, for a fleeting moment, you look at it and you go, wow. Because it's a tough world. Man, it's full of problems. Now, it really is. And you see that, and just for a fleeting moment, it's all gone. And I'll tell you the other thing that gives you that moment where you have no problems in the world, and it's when you jump in the damn swimming pool. The minute you jump in that pool, every problem you have in the world is gone. Everyone has pools here in Arizona. And I'll tell you one more thing, that eliminates every single problem that you have in this world momentarily, and that's a box of donuts.
Okay, Weed and Seed community, that will do it for today's Skull Session. Reminder, sponsorships are available. Go to where all Blade content hides, bobtheblade.com. Episode 51 was brought to you by Judd's Designs. I am Trish Bell, and we will see you next time.